Good morning. Today is Monday, April 27th, 2020. Today I want to talk about touch. I'm really reaching out to parents, especially, but this goes for all of us. Touch is extremely important. Right now we are being told to social distance, we're told to stay away, and there's this really push against each other and staying away. It's actually the wrong way of thinking, okay? Because, now here you go. Journal of Psychology Science, got the article right up here, released a study in 2014. So it was published in 2014, it was published in the Journal of Psychological Science, a study that showed that touch was a stress buffer and that shared hugs, here's the quote, shared hugs actually has a protective effect against respiratory infections. Yeah, hugging helps protect us against respiratory infections. COVID-19, the virus itself doesn't kill you. It's because it opens you and makes you more susceptible, particularly to respiratory infections. All right? Hug each other. Right? Touch. There is so many studies about the importance of touch, and yet our society is pushing us in a direction that we don't touch anymore. Our children are being raised in institutions. Parents are working long hours and they're not there to hold and hug our children. We're hands off, and the fear of touching wrong. Hello, people. Most of us know how to touch correctly. I'm not talking about violation. When someone says, don't touch me, it's called respect. So when your child says, I don't want to be touched, respect it. Especially when they say, I don't want that relative or that friend to touch me. Okay? But parents, you need to hug your children. They need to see you. They need to feel you in order for them to develop healthy. There are so many studies that show human babies, preemies especially, a lot of studies in preemies, okay? But human children and babies of other species, not just primates, but all species, show that then they lack attention, lack physical touch with a parent. They don't develop properly. They mentally, emotionally, and physically do not develop as well. They have hugging nurses for preemies because they know how important touch is to the human body. All right? Healthy touch is on the shoulder, it's on the hand, it's a rub on the back, it's not grabbing, right? We know where it's right. We all know the bathing suit rules, right? So this isn't hard to figure out. So hug each other. Make sure you have those moments with your children. Make sure you do this. Teenagers are the worst. Teenagers have a stand back approach because they're trying to figure out their own identity. It's separate from you. It's healthy, okay? But it's also healthy to reach out. Don't stop reaching out to them. Give them a hug. Pat them on the shoulder. Pat them on the back once in a while. They need to know that physical touch. It's very, very important. Right? It's important for their development. It's important for their social skills. It's for all of our social skills. When somebody is not touched on a regular basis, they become withdrawn from people and they become socially dysfunctional. Right? They need it. They need hugs. They need connection with other people, and it needs to be physical. There are studies that show that when a person is in pain and we touch them, we hold their hand, their pain is reduced. It actually reduces the pain in their body. Touching, hugging, all that, it actually moves your body away from the stress and fear mode and into a nurture and grow mode of operation. So we need to touch, right? For our health. Now with the way our society has been going for a long time, we have been pushing families apart, right? You come together in your youth and you fall in love with somebody and your careers take off and you go in separate directions, right? You spend a lot of time, most of our time is spent in our work. Well, we're not coming back together. Then we come back together less and less and less, right? And as we have children and as we have mortgages and bills to pay and careers to run and businesses to run and things like that, we become more and more and more active in these separate lives, and we come back together less and less and less. And the stress of what is coming at us from our world as we grow, as we get older, it causes us to connect less and less. This is why marriages break down, right? Because we're no longer connecting. We're staying in these stress modes. We're not coming back together. We need to come back together. What happens then? We have children. Children push this even further apart, because everybody knows that as soon as mom and dad hug, the child is in there grabbing onto a leg and prying between the two, right? And that is the physical of what they do. They're doing it on every level. And this is fine. This is our children, right? We love them dearly. But they need it too. They need to be that family hug, right? We need to come back together. A lot of marriages would be saved if we actually came back together on a physical touch, right? When we're dating, we go dancing and we hold each other close, and we hold hands, and we're always looking for an excuse to touch that person that we love, right? Well, as we get into marriage and we get into longer relationships, we stop doing that. We don't go out as often. Our lives take over. We don't go dancing. We don't hold each other. We don't hold hands every chance we get. We don't put our focus there. We don't feel each other. And it separates us. And eventually we become so separate that the touch becomes awkward, right? You ever seen couples that have been together a long time and that it's awkward between them? It's because they've lost that connection of touch. Well, the same thing happens with our children as well. So our community, right, our world right now is really pushing us apart even more than ever. I got sent a picture this morning, and it was probably one of the most horrifying pictures I've ever seen. It was of a small child in a classroom sitting at a school desk. And you could see, it was focused on the one, but you could see others in the background. And they had on these masks, and then they had on these hats with meter stick hanging out either side to remind them how far apart to be from each other. It's not right. It's not right. Don't live this way. Don't allow our society to go that way. All right? It's wrong. Remember, touch, what did we say? Touch has a protective effect against respiratory infection. It's right there. And that's just one study. Do you know how many studies there are? There are so many studies out there, and not one of them contradicts that statement. I've never found a study that contradicts that statement. Okay? We need to calm down and we need to connect, right? We really do. We don't want to completely lose our humanity, and it's quite easy to have it done. It's being done. Our society has been driving in that direction for a long time. Right? We've been putting our kids in daycare so that parents can work long hours. We've started schools up into longer hours to keep them more separate from their parents. We are breaking down and separating families. There is room for, out of this pandemic, there's a lot of room for good things to happen. And one of the things that is going to happen moving forward is we're going to have a lot more people working at home. And maybe if we have a lot more people working at home, they'll have a lot more connection with their kids. You take a 2-hour commute out of the day, you're now eating better, and you're now talking to your spouse, you're now cuddling with your kids, you're now participating with each other, right? You're coming together. But we have to retrain ourselves. We have to teach ourselves how to communicate and how to connect with each other again. So as we take that commute out of our life, let's put it back into our life. Let's start living again. And living means connecting. We are social beings. We need to connect with each other. So that's my message today. Go hug somebody. Find somebody to hug. Okay? It's really important. Pat them on the shoulder. Respect their distance. Respect someone's personal space and don't violate their space, right? There's good touch and bad touch. When you violate somebody's comfort level, it's a bad touch. And I don't care if a touch on the shoulder is making somebody uncomfortable, it's not good. All right? And if somebody is making you feel uncomfortable, speak up. Just say, hey, I'm not so comfortable with that right now. Right? Social bubble. I need my bubble. But at the same time, almost all of us have somebody that we live with or in contact with that we can touch and we can be in connection with. It will reduce the stress in your body. It will reduce your fears. It'll help you be a stronger physically, emotionally, and mentally. All right? Don't let them take that away from us. Don't let this pandemic take that from us. That's our humanness. What's the difference between a human and AI, artificial intelligence? Right? What's the difference between a human and computers? It's our emotional ability. That's the big difference. So don't lose it. And we keep it through connection. And the biggest form of connection for humans is touch. And it's good for our health. Anyhow, that's my message for today. Hugs to all of you. Have a wonderful day. Love you. Bye.